speaking, Darash. Introduction, 2 minutes.
Kind all praise to the Most High. Shalom, Israel. Apostle Darash over a True Nation Israelite congregation. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. And my stance, as well as my body, my congregation stance, is that Ruth is not an Israelite, but in fact a Moabite by blood, by lineage. I'm almost positive that my opponent is going to try to show that because there was an area known as the Plains of Moab in the land of Reuben, she's a Reubenite. And the land of Moab is representing the plains of Moab in the land of Reuben. He's going to give the history of Sihon, the king of the Amorites, warring and defeating Moab and taking their land from Jabbok to Arnon in Numbers 21, and how in Numbers 33, the land is still known as Moab. After Israel defeats the Amorites, we took the same land and gave it to Reuben. Plains of Moab was never renamed, all that good stuff. However, there's a few issues with that. We know that the actual land or country of Moab still existed below the Arnon River. And plains of Moab and country of Moab are two different words, both in Hebrew and in English. And I'm also going to go through the book of Ruth itself to prove that by nationality, Ruth was in fact a Moabite of the lineage of Moab. Again, just simply reading through the book of Ruth and showing the clear evidence in the scriptures. And with that, I'm going to yield the remainder of my time and we can get into it in the next round.
All right, all praises. You got the time, Halak? All right, Cap. Your time starts when you start speaking.
Hey, shalom, Yahweh Shabrak Thumb, all my brothers, Yahweh Shemal Dub, Hashem Yahweh Shad, all my sisters. I'm Kevin Katazad, the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge, start at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. And my opponent said is absolutely correct. That you understand, I'm not going to say she's a Reubenite, but this is what you should know. Ruth is for sure an Israelite, and that the story of Ruth does actually take place in the land of Reuben. And I'm going to prove that without a shadow of a doubt, because there's something that we have to do as a people. We have to actually do diligent and unbiased research instead of being indoctrinated and bringing things over from Christianity into the truth. You understand, or what you want to call the truth for that matter. So what y'all going to see today is that link at the top. That's actually going to be a PowerPoint presentation for you to actually get some visuals. Why? Because when you study the Bible, you also have to look at maps. We need to understand geography. And y'all are going to see that there is no way that in Christ's lineage, you're going to see that there is a heathen. There's no way that you are going to turn around and tell me that Obed, Jesse, as well as David was allowed in the congregation when their grandmother was a heathen. And there's no way you're going to tell me that the Lord's washpot that is Moab is going to be a virtuous sister by the name of Ruth. You understand? So what we got to know is that we cannot forget what we know trying to learn something new. Ruth is an Israelite, plain and simple. I'll land there.
All right, thank you for that introduction. Halab, reset the time, flash your mic when you're good. Darash, your time starts for your first round, being 10 minutes whenever you start speaking.
Khan, all praise to the Most High. We're just going to jump into the book of Ruth. Let's jump straight into it, right? Let's go to Ruth chapter 1 and verse 6. We're going to read. And it says, then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. So they were all in the country of Moab. They were not in the plains of Moab, which you read in the book of Numbers, right? And it says that she found out that the Lord had visited his people. Now, some people argue, well, it's talking about, well, you know, because Christ came from the lineage of Judah, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, when we read, watch this, I'm going to go to 1 Samuel really quick. 1 Samuel chapter 9, and there's a couple other scriptures, but I'm short on time. The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 9 and verse 15. And it reads, now the Lord had told Samuel in his ear a day before Saul came, saying, tomorrow about this time I will send thee a man out of the land of Benjamin, and thou shalt anoint him to be captain over my people Israel, that he may save my people out of the hand of the Philistines, for I have looked upon my people, because their cry is come unto me. So if she was indeed an Israelite, there wouldn't have needed to be a distinction or a separation to say the Lord visited his people, because if this particular land was indeed a part of the inheritance, then it wouldn't have had to make that distinction, right? Now, let's go over to, let's drop down to Ruth chapter 1 and verse 10. And it reads, Salakia. I accidentally let go of the page. Ruth chapter 1 and verse 10. And it reads, and they said unto her, surely we will return with thee unto thy people. Right? Now I'm going to drop down to verse 15. It says, and she said, this is Ruth, behold, Salakia, this is Naomi, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God, my God. Right? Now, this ain't got nothing to do with Christianity. This just has to do with reading the Bible. Everyone doesn't have to be an Israelite. We already know this, right? Because you are the seed of your father, not the seed of your mother. That's Christianity. Now, when we read right here, we see that Ruth was like, Naomi said, go back to your people and your gods. She said, no, I want to be with you and your people. I want to be a part of your people, and I want your God. I will worship your God and follow your God. Right? Now, let's drop down to Ruth chapter 2 and verse 10. Salaki, I actually want to get something with this right here. So when we read Ruth 1 and 15 through 16, we see that there's a distinction, right? Naomi said, go back to your gods. There's a few things wrong with this. If Ruth was in fact an Israelite, why would Naomi be telling her to go and worship or go back to your people and these other gods, right? Is she Is she inciting her or letting her know it's okay to commit idolatry? Or is it the other side, which is they'll say, well, gods can mean anything. It means powers. It means judges. It means this. It means that. Okay, well, when you read through the scriptures, watch this in the book of Judges. I'm going to grab something out of Judges chapter, I think it's chapter 4. Judges chapter 3. I'm going to grab that first. The book of Judges chapter 3 and verse 14. Watch this. It says, so the children of Israel served Eglon, the king of Moab, 18 years. And when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised them up a deliverer, Ehud, the son of Gera, a Benjamite, a man left-handed. And by him the children of Israel sent a present unto Eglon, the king of Moab. Watch this. I'm going to jump over to Judges chapter 4. Judges chapter 4 and verse 5. It says, and she dwelt, he's talking about Deborah,
5 minutes left.
under the palm tree, and she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel, Mount Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. I'm going to go to one more, and then I'm going to get to my point. Judges chapter 15 and verse 16. And Samson said, with the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps, with the jaw of an ass have I slain 1,000 men. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking, that he cast away the jawbone of his hand and called that place Ramoth Lehi. And he was sore athirst and called the Lord and said, thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant, and now shall I die of thirst and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised. Verse 19. But God clave and hollow place that was in the jaw, and there came water thereout. And when he had drunk, his spirit came again, and he was revived. Wherefore he called the name thereof En Hakakori, which is in Lahai unto this day. And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years. So there's a number of things wrong with this here. So either Naomi said, go and worship these other gods, or you're saying, well, gods just means judges. He's saying, go back to this particular land with your judges. The problem is the book of Judges doesn't even teach that. Each judge judged all of Israel. There was not one particular judge in one particular tribe. During the time of Judges, which we know Ruth was in, they were judging all of Israel. So that wouldn't make sense either. Now, we get into Ruth chapter 5. I'm going to jump over here because I'm short of time. Ruth chapter 4, verse 5. And it says, then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. Verse 9. And Boaz said unto the elders, unto all the people, ye are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chilon's and Mahlon's in the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, so on and so forth. I'm going to jump to a precept really quickly in Leviticus chapter 25, because the question will now be, if she's an Israelite, this was not a dowry. It's not dowry of virgin. She was purchased as property with the property. And the scriptures tell you, Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 44. It says, both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. So you can only purchase the heathen. So there's no way that if this woman is an Israelite, that they're going to purchase her as property, just like they did in just like the law says right here. So it doesn't make sense. Again, this ain't got nothing to do with Christianity. This has everything to do with just reading the book, just reading the Bible. You are the seed of your father. So it's not really that deep. Let me see. So let's go ahead and really quickly recap. I know I'm short on time. Ruth was from the country of Moab, not the same as the plains of Moab. If I have time in the next round, I'll make sure that I'll pull out even the Hebrew word for it. Ruth says she will follow Naomi's God as opposed
1 minute left.
As opposed to her own gods. Ruth, when you read, as a matter of fact, Shalakia, let me grab that real quick. Nope, I ain't gonna have time. I'm gonna get it in the next round. Ruth was also purchased as property along with the real estate property, right? Now, I'm going to get one later on. We're going to talk about Ruth and her actually giving up the baby to Naomi. She didn't raise that child. Naomi nursed and raised that child. Why do that if that's her child and you're raising up seed in another man's name? Your nearest of kin, the man's name. If Ruth was an Israelite, she could have easily raised that child up in righteousness. But we'll get to that in the next round. And with that, I'll yield the remainder of my time.